Welcome to a special time, the ordinary American, Donald Trump, taking care of all family business. A little play on The Godfather. Yesterday we played a clip from The Good Shepherd. We're not going to play a clip from The Godfather, but MAGA and Trump are having a big primary season result. So all that doom and gloom nonsense of Trump's approval rating and whatever other nonsense stories that the left wants to tell you, or the doomers, or the Trump haters. Trump is now really the only elected official that carries any weight with endorsements. We're going to get into that. All right, today we're going to talk about the Trump endorsements. We're going to talk about some Promethean Action, some important things from them. We've got a couple of clips that tie in the Democrats trying to defeat the MAGA movement, which is the purpose of this show, is to join the fight to save America. We're also going to do a little AI at the end with Jensen Huang, the CEO of NVIDIA. All right, this is The Ordinary American. I'm your host, Paul Sarkis. Anti-leftist, that's what this show is. The left is trying to control and win America. They've been cheating, lying, and stealing. We talked yesterday. The Democrat Party now is a complete, corrupted criminal organization. They have no policies. They have nothing to run on. We're seeing the end stages in places like Los Angeles. New York is getting there. Oregon now potentially has a Republican governor. I'm just starting to pay attention to this. Okay, we're gonna get into these things, but as I say all the time, voting for Democrats is like breaking into jail. And unfortunately, if you vote for a Democrat, are breaking the rest of us into jail if we live in those areas. And we can't have that. That's against our consent, and I know how important consent is. Voting for Democrats is like breaking into jail. Nobody should be voting for Democrats. Black Americans, I talk about this all the time. Why are you still voting for Democrats? They have destroyed your schools and made them illiteracy factories. If somebody wanted to be racist, what better way to do that than create illiterate kids coming out of high schools? Then they're dependent on government. Jewish Americans, you're waking up slowly, okay? You've been backing Obama for years. He's been funding the destruction of Israel. You hate Trump, yet Trump's the only one that ever moved the embassy. He's the one who's created, I'm 58 years old, but I've never seen Arab and Israelis doing business deals. We have the Abraham Accords. And the great Ned from the Middle East, my very good friend, he tells me that pretty soon, all of the GCC countries, Kuwait, Oman, I think I got some of them, I can't remember, Bahrain, the other ones, Saudi, they're all going to join the Abraham Accords. Okay, all of them. We're going to get into a little of that too. Ned's got some insights I want to share. Okay, but the MAGA movement is showing that you never need to vote for Democrats. The first thing I want to put up today is I was actually trying to use AI to make a chart. And then right before the show, I did what I always do, which is I look on Truth Social to see if Trump said anything that I should be aware of. And I saw this. And I thought, well, that's a better chart than I was making. So we'll just put this up. This is Trump taking care of business. This is Trump's endorsement. Endorsements generally don't mean much. I've worked in state level and local level politics all my life. Endorsements mean very little. This endorsement means a lot. He's got Pennsylvania. Look at all these. Where's Indiana? I guess he doesn't have Indiana on here, but Indiana, he took out all the state level politicians, or almost all of them, who wouldn't do the redistricting to help the Republicans, if you remember that controversy. Usually state level stuff, state senators, state reps, even endorsement from this high up really doesn't mean anything. With Trump, it does. That's how far MAGA has permeated. The left politicized everything. By the way, that's the great bruiser snoring over here. The left politicized everything. Trump just decided, well, if you're going to do that, we'll do it even more. Okay? He got Massie out in Kentucky. He got Cassidy out. Cassidy didn't, from Louisiana. He's a senator from Louisiana. That was a few days ago. He didn't even make the runoff. All these guys are anti-Trump guys. And it burns my britches as we see the Save America Act not getting through the Senate. That's Thune. Little side note, my experience at state level politics, the three most important people who make essentially all the decisions in state level government, the Speaker of the House, the Senate President, or whatever they call the leader of the Senate, and the governor. And depending upon the governor can be more or less powerful. Johnson passed it. Thune did not pass it. Nothing goes through one of these bodies without the leader saying so. If it goes through without the leader saying so, then everybody else in that body knows that the leader doesn't have the juice, which means the Indians get restless and they'll take you out. Those bodies, it doesn't matter how big a name you are. If you win a primary and then you win a general election and you get into the House, let's say, or the Senate, you now start over. You're now at the very beginning. You're like going to high school and you're a freshman. You have no say, you have no authority, you have no clout. It matters not how big your name is out in the regular world. Within that body, Thune controls everything. He controls the office location. He controls the staffing level. He controls the committee that you get on, or committees plural that you get on. He controls whether somebody else runs against you. He controls an enormous amount of money that he can throw at opponents. He can make your life living hell. So can the Speaker. That's the carrot and the stick approach. The carrot is they won't let anybody run against you. The carrot is they'll give you a good office. The carrot is they'll give you more staff. Okay, it's all more or less compromise and corruption, but the Senate President, Majority Leader, or the Speaker of the House control those bodies. And it's very rare that something gets through without that. Why do I say that? Because what Trump has been doing is trying to get the Save America Act through, and Thune is stopping it. Thune hates Trump more than he likes America. Okay? Trump is doing his part. We can't get any of the Doge cuts. I think there's one that's been passed into law. So all of what we get from Doge is executive orders, which can be changed. Okay, why? Because the truth is, these senators that are in control, Thune and others like Cassidy, or in the House like Massie, they don't like Trump. They like the system the way that it is. It is part of the corruption. Trump is the only one who's not compromised. I got a little pissed off the other day. One of the viewers of the show chimed in and said something about that I'm not fair and balanced. And I said, you're right. I'm not. I'm not Fox. I'm not a journalist. I'm trying to join the fight to save America. I'm not interested in fair and balanced. I'm interested in the truth. That's what I'm interested in. This is an opinion show based on the truth. I am 100% in favor of what Donald Trump is doing. It doesn't mean I agree with every single thing he does all the time. I don't like to eat McDonald's. He's a big McDonald's guy. Difference of opinion. All right? I'm sure there's others. But in general, what he's doing, no one else has ever done. The list is now endless of the things that no one else has done, including shrink the size of government. I've heard people yap about that my whole life. This is the first guy that's done it. He's the first guy, as I mentioned earlier, that's brought the Arab and Israelis together. And there's relative peace in the Middle East once we figure out this Iran situation. I've never seen that before. So I'm not interested in you can do the other side with CNN. I play some of this stuff here to show you the craziness, which we're going to do here in a second. Okay? But this is not a journalist show. This is not a fair and balanced show. This is a truth show. We're going to talk about the truth. Okay, so there are the wins for Trump. He's packing up. By the way, a big one coming up, I think it's May 26th, I think it is Texas. Paxton, the sitting AG, is running for the Senate seat held by Cornyn. Cornyn is anti-Trump. Cornyn will not vote for the Save America Act. Paxton did a great political maneuver where he basically said, I'll drop out of the race if we pass the Save America Act. Thune so hates MAGA and Trump that he told Cornyn, you're going to have to go win this thing on your own because I am not passing the Save America Act. Okay, that should be, by the way, that should be a warning to every other senator in there that thinks that they have a friend in Thune. There are no friends, okay? None at all. All right, the next thing I want to play here, which is on the same topic, is this is a video that made the rounds. I think it's important. It's that idiot half-wit, what's his name, from the Senate, Jeffries. So let's just play this. Where is it? Yeah, okay. Just so you can hear what he's saying about what's going on politically.
Of how we as House Democrats view this moment, either MAGA extremists are going to break the country or we're going to break them. And our goal is to break them. We will defeat them. We have to beat them electorally, and then we have to break their spirit because of the extremism that's being unleashed on the American people. That's completely and totally unacceptable.
The extremism, bringing back manufacturing. I was a big Bruce Springsteen fan. I can't stand to listen to him anymore because he spouted off his whole life about helping factory workers and the working man. And now he is a shill for these leftists who don't care a lick about the working man. Trump is bringing back manufacturing jobs by the tens and soon hundreds of thousands. This guy calls MAGA extremism. Like what? Like extreme what? Bringing back the American way, the American system? What's so extreme about wanting jobs for Americans to control our supply chain so we're not beholden to people like China? Yet Trump can go and make friends with China and Russia. Why? Because we have to live with them. We have to figure things out. This guy, he is, first of all, he's a half-wit. They call him the dollar store Obama. But it sort of gives you the example. They have to break us. You sort of also saw how he said we have to defeat them, and then it was like click, 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 click at the ballot box or electorally. They don't care about the electoral box. They care about power and corruption. That's all they are about. How do I prove that Trump isn't about that? Because Trump left office, even Bruiser says so, Trump left office and then was attacked and lawfare against him and phony baloney nonsense indictments. He still beat it, ran again, and then won so big that they couldn't rig it. Okay, that's going to lead us over to LA here in a second. Same thing, MAGA and Trump winning. Trump hasn't come out and formally endorsed Spencer Pratt yet, but I suspect he will. Now, I think some of it is because there's a belief that Trump is unpopular in LA and it will hurt more than it will help. That to me is sick if it's true, and it might be true. But make no mistake about it, what Spencer Pratt is doing is he is a product of Trump. Trump was he was a big personality and everybody knew him before he had his show, but his show launched him into superstardom. There was never a candidate for president who ever had the name recognition that Trump had when they started. And what did he do? He used social media, X, then known as Twitter. And that was how he communicated and cut out the media. What is Spencer Pratt doing? He's taking that one step better. He uses all of his experience on social media, which is vast, and all of his, I don't know how many millions of people he has on the various social media things, TikTok and Instagram and X, etc. And he's that now going beyond just sending out messages like Trump did. Now he's got the videos, and now he's got everybody else making videos. And that's like that, in the old days, when I first got involved with politics, one of the big things you would do in a local race is what's called a standout. You would stand in front of a popular grocery store on the weekend with a sign, and you say hi to people. And if people wanted to engage, you tell them about your candidate. It's called a standout. Usually the candidate would come and shake hands too. It's a way to hit a lot of people without having to go door to door until later in the afternoon, maybe when people are then at home. What Spencer Pratt is doing with all of these videos that are being made, not by him, by others, That's essentially a standout on steroids. Getting the name recognition out. We played yesterday a couple of the videos. We'll certainly play more in the future. Today, what I'm going to play is I'm going to play Finally the Press. And this is when you know Spencer Pratt is making hay. This is 2 clips from CNN. Watch this.
Goal by the end of your first term in 2026. And what lessons do you think other cities can learn from what you've done?
Well, my goal would be really to end street homelessness.
So when you talked to Jake Tapper in 2023, you said that your goal was to end street homelessness in LA by 2026. It's now 2026.
And we haven't ended it.
We have not ended it, and we're not close to ending it. How are you so off?
Well, basically, when I said that, it was at the beginning of my term. I am very committed to achieving that goal. I didn't anticipate some of the bureaucratic barriers that I would experience, but I am prepared to take those on now.
But you promised that it would go away 100%, and it's only gone down about 17.6%.
Right.
So why should people trust you that you're going to be able to get to the 100%?
Because let me just tell you, for the first time, we've had a decrease at all.
I mean, but by the way, that's not even the full clip. If you watch the full clip of that second one, the one that just took place, one of the things she does, which the Democrats always do, is she says, well, I take responsibility, and then she blames it on LA, and that LA did this, and they chose housing over homelessness. It's just it's just all this nonsense. You contrast that with Spencer Pratt saying, no more homelessness. That's what we're going to do. We're going to get them off the street. That's digestible. Everybody gets it. It's simple. We understand it. Okay? That's the contrast that the great Dan Bongino talks about. Contrast. We can listen to that woman bluster and blabber, and it's so annoying to listen. She's like, rah, rah, rah. Oh, yes. Oh, blah, blah. She's like a Muppet. Yeah, I did. But there's never been a decline at all. She thinks that's a good thing. The Democrats have been in control for 20 years. If there hasn't been a decline until now, that's her party. That's her. And 17%, talk to Angelenos and ask them if they think there's been a decrease. Because I've heard no one, and I used to live there, a lot of friends still there, lived there for almost 20 years. When I go back, unrecognizable. Go in the valley on Ventura, I couldn't believe how many vacancies. Driving from Studio City into Encino, that whole strip. This is the left, what we see in LA. And you see, she didn't say she's changing her policies. She didn't say we're going to do a new, she didn't even pretend. She just said they're going to keep doing what they're doing. No changes. The Democrats don't intend to change. MAGA is changing things. Donald Trump is changing things. These people with Thune. If the Democrat Party is, as I contend, a criminal organization, Thune is like a low-level lackey on the outside of that. Still a criminal, still a traitor, not passing the Save America Act. Why? Because he knows that if he passes the Save America Act, the Democrats will be out. I think I've talked about this before. The dynamic at a legislative level is that these Republicans, these idiots, Thune, Cornyn, Cassidy, those are in the House, Massie in the Senate. There's 2 things that just irk me to no end. One is they always try to come up with some principle nonsense on why they're not going to be in favor of the thing that's best for America. The Save America Act, by the way, let's go back. 80+% of all Americans want it. Over 80%. I can't think of another issue that gets that kind of polling. And as far as the nonsense about it being a Jim Crow and black people don't have, IDs, 94% of voting age black Americans have a photo ID today. So there's a 6% delta. I think we can deal with the 6% delta. We can help them. We can get them their IDs. We'll be fine. I think it's 97% of voting age white Americans have an ID. So there's only a 3% delta there. Okay. They won't pass that. So they come up with this nonsense like, oh, well, we don't have the votes. Thune's lying. Or the Jim Crow stuff or other issues like Massie being against things. Here's what they do. They come up with these fake principles. And the fake principle is we need 100% purity. We need 100% win of everything we want. Otherwise, we have to be against a bill. The Democrats are the opposite. For over 100 years, the Democrats have been doing this. Put out something. I'll get 20% of it clawed in. Okay, we got that. Now we come back. We'll get the rest later. Okay, we get 20% later. We'll get that. Okay, maybe we'll get 10% on this one. We'll get that. Maybe we'll get 5% of our agenda on this. Maybe we'll get 50% on this one. And they keep on clawing at society and getting wins. Guys like Massie, particularly these libertarians. Listen, I have a libertarian streak in me, but I am a realist. I live in a real world, and in the real world of politics, you have to be able to get wins. Trying to talk like Massie does, like we need it all or nothing, that's a losing way. What Trump has done is winning. He's winning elections. He's won 3 elections to serve 2 terms. But as we saw, he's taking care of all the business now. He's using, he's got to be careful, and he's better at it than I am, and I don't have to deal with it. He can't call Thune a traitor. Got to work with him. But what he is doing by getting rid of Cassidy and he's going to, I think, get rid of Cornyn and others, is he's sort of showing them, hey, listen. And here's another part of the MAGA movement. It doesn't end with Trump. Trump's a powerful force, but you can see in what he's doing. He knows that if it just ends with him, probably useless. I hate to make this analogy, but I'm a Patriots fan, giant Tom Brady fan for a lot of years. In New England, the argument was always, was it Brady or Belichick? When you saw both of them leave, when you saw Brady leave and go to another team and win a Super Bowl, that kind of answered that question. But Belichick had no success in New England afterwards, and he's not having any success at UNC so far. He doesn't have a coaching tree that has a huge, winning percentage like Parcells does. Okay, he did what he did. I've always said, by the way, it was mostly Brady. Brady was the greatest general manager, recruiter of any person ever in professional football. Guys wanted to come and play for him, and they looked at him and said, if he can put up with this guy, then I can put up with this guy. If he can take less money, then I can take less money. I'm going to win a title. He was the best recruiter. All right. Sorry, got off on that. All right. So we got Trump winning massively. Huge. We got to keep it up. We got to keep it up. It has barely even started. Okay. I want to now transition. Before I get to AI, I want to do a little Promethean action. This is from, I think it's Sunday's update from Barbara Boyd. The whole thing should be watched. Everything Promethean Action does should be watched by all of us. They are, in my opinion, the single most important voice for anybody that's interested in saving America. They don't talk in the same terms as I do, left versus right. They talk in terms of the American system, the Hamiltonian system. They have the opposition of that is the City of London, the British, Dutch, imperialistic system. And they're right. Someday I'd love to have a conversation about some of these things because I think there's some nuance, but they're the most important people talking about this stuff. Why? They're able to lay out the framework when you watch their videos. They take what is essentially like three items from the news. In this particular video, we're not going to watch the whole thing. It's about 14 minutes. It's Trump and Xi. It's Carney from Canada and the globalists. And I forget the fourth thing. But they tie them all together through this macro view of Trump dismantling the imperialistic British, Dutch control of the world, but certainly of America. What it's being replaced with is what Trump is doing is he's replacing with the American system. The American system is a system that says every country should be responsible and prioritize their citizens. So you'll often hear Trump say, or even Rubio say, Xi is worried about the Chinese citizens. That's good. He should be. Right. That's a fair dealing. Trump is worried about America. He is using American economic might to bring money to this country to build up the industrial base because you are what you make. Barbara Boyd is who we're going to listen to today, but Barbara, Susan, Adam, I think one of the other guys' name is Mike. These people, and there's a science guy, I always forget his name. He's exceptional too. But what she's talking about in this particular clip is some of the tools that the globalists use. And I just wanted to mention this as we're sort of getting into some of the nitty gritty of election season with these races that will come up in November. All right, let's just listen to this.
Finally, the coup de grace, trying to make green finance the globalist controller of all capital investment. As UN Special Envoy for Climate Action and Finance, Carney built the Green Finance Initiative for Net Zero to direct $130 trillion in private capital toward, quote, transition assets, with the City of London and Chinese green tech as primary beneficiaries. But Donald Trump obliterated the Green New Deal, and BlackRock and JP Morgan exited the alliance in January 2025. So Carney isn't the new shaman for a third way. He's the undertaker of the old one, trying to rebrand it as a renaissance. Keir Starmer was his partner. Just look at this mass protest in London on Saturday against unchecked immigration and financial looting. Does it look like their product enjoys mass support? Which brings us right back to the United States. 3 weeks ago, the doom scrollers had a story they loved. Trump was going to get shellacked in the midterms. The base was demoralized. Democrats were measuring the drapes. What a difference the run-up to the China trip made. While the president was in Beijing starting the reordering of the global economy, his team here was delivering the accountability voters have been waiting 9 years to see. Here's Acting Attorney General Todd Bench with Maria Bartiromo yesterday.
Well, there's a ton of evidence that the election was rigged. That's not something the DOJ needs to tell you about. There's been evidence about that for many, many years. What I can tell you is that we have multiple investigations going on in Arizona, in Georgia, in Fulton County, Georgia, and that's exactly what we're looking at. By the way, this is very difficult because they're very good. They're very good at hiding up misconduct and hiding what they're doing. And so that's why we're very focused on finding out whether the right people voted, whether people who were supposed to vote voted, whether there was one vote cast per voter. And that's what we're doing in multiple states.
Yes, the 2020 election was rigged.
I'm going to stop here for a second. Two things, the practical and the delivery, and then the topics. You see how she weaves in, she started in that segment with Carney and the globalists and the green agenda and how that's how they finance their destruction of the world. She weaves that into Trump and Xi, then into the midterms, and now into the election corruption. And she does this throughout the whole video. It's brilliant. So that's one of the reasons why you watch it. But listen to what she said. She said that the green stuff was the globalists, the City of London, the British, Dutch, imperial stuff. That was their tool, one of their main tools, to try to extract wealth. Think about a guy like Al Gore, made hundreds of millions off of this phony nonsense green stuff. None of it's ever happened. I'm old enough to remember the 70s, what the world is going to end and it's going to freeze over or it's going to whatever. We're going to have the ice age, the polar ice caps are going to be melted. The seas are going to rise. None of it happened. Obama, as soon as he gets out of office, what does he do? He buys an oceanfront estate on Martha's Vineyard and an oceanfront estate in Hawaii. If the seas are going to rise, what's he doing, bro? The seas aren't rising. He's lying, obviously. That's what she's showing. And they use that to extract wealth from all of us. That's the same thing as the Iran terrorism tax on a barrel of oil, between $5 and $15 every barrel of oil since the 79 revolution is caused by their disruption of the markets. That money, that $5 to $15, is being extracted through Lloyd's of London and the financialization of our economy. And we're paying it. She's pointing that out. She then transitions to Xi and Trump. What she says earlier in the video is that Xi and Trump are developing a relationship. They are rivals. They are not best pals. They aren't going to go retire down at Mar-a-Lago together. Not happening. But they still need a relationship. And China now can do that because they're afraid of Trump. He built the fear first and is building the fear. And so Trump has these boundaries. Yes, I'm going to be your friend, but don't cross this boundary. And you can see, while they're over there developing friendship, Rubio's out saying, let me roll the film back. The Chinese are out saying, don't get involved in Taiwan. That's ours. Rubio comes out and says, our policy hasn't changed, guys. You can have a difference, and let's see how they work it out. Then she transitions into the midterms. It's not looking the same as it looked a bunch of weeks ago. The Supreme Court decision, the redistricting, all the Republican states starting to do that. We're starting to get rid of the corruption. When we get rid of the corruption, go back to yesterday's episode, Democrats are a complete criminal organization. Just look at them. They can't win. Even the Democrats are now saying it's going to be 30 to 40 seats if we extract all of the corruption, the census, the race-based districts. Side note, there are, 5 Black Republican congressmen, I think it's 5, maybe 6, who have been elected in all, or not all, but majority white districts. That destroys the case the Democrats make, which is essentially that a white person can't represent a Black person. The corollary is also true. A Black person can't represent a white person. That is their view. So any white person that lives in one of these race-based districts that are now going away because of the Supreme Court had to sit there and say, I guess from the Democrats' point of view, I'm not really being represented. All the corruption out, she ties in, we're winning that race. Then she gets to the election corruption from 2020 and she plays that clip from Todd Blanche. I just want you to hear the rest of just a little more of this.
And the DOJ is looking at multiple prosecutions. How's that for a Sunday admission? Then Blanche pinned the Russiagate coup on Barack Obama directly.
The whole Russia hoax, there was absolutely nothing to it. And so the question that the American people have to ask is, well, then why did they do it? Why did Comey say what he said? Why did the outgoing Obama administration do what they did? And that's what we're studying right now, because it did great damage to this country. It did great damage to President Trump's first term. And we want to understand why that happened, why there continued to be an effort by operatives in the government to go after President Trump while he was in office, and then, of course, over the past several years as well.
And it's not just Blanche. Here's Vice President Vance on the National Fraud Task Force, converting investigation into
This is the fraud squad. This is super important.
Convictions and recovering the trillions in entitlement and program fraud that has quietly funded the Democratic Party machine for a generation.
Well, we just have to prosecute as much as we can, and we have to accept that, yes, there are going to be some blue states that fight us, but that doesn't mean we can't do our job. And for every person that slips through the cracks because of a crooked judge, we're going to get 10 people who actually go to prison or suffer real consequences for it. And we're also saving the American people a lot of money. And one of the things I've learned as vice president, I think the president, of course, appreciated this from his first term, is that you can have a rock solid case. You can have a fraudster. You can have them dead to rights. You can have them literally in a text message confessing to the crime. But sometimes you're still going to have corrupt judges. I think it drives home the importance of getting better judges in the system, but also going after this stuff in a number of ways.
The voters can feel it. Ask Bill Cassidy, the Louisiana rhino who voted to convict Trump in 2020.
All right. She goes, listen to the whole thing, okay? I encourage you. But she goes on, but I'm going to stop here because I'm watching the clock. What Vance is doing is he's normalizing, which is appropriate, the fact that these judges are corrupt. What he's doing is he's confirming our reality. He's saying, you're seeing that right. These judges are corrupt. It's one of the things we try to do on this show. We're trying to confirm the reality of the 77 million people that voted for Trump. Trump won 3 elections. He did. We had a coup that was successful in 2020, took the election away from us. Now listen, and divine providence intervened because Trump is being way more effective now than he would have been in 2020. So that's great. But what she's pointing out there, what she's doing is she's showing Vance saying, yeah, corruption. And what Barbara's doing there is showing, yeah, it's corruption. And America is waking up. And she's using Cassidy, as we talked about earlier, as one of the examples. Everything they do at Promethean Action is valuable. They have a newsletter. I'd highly recommend you sign up for it. They're not a sponsor. I don't get anything from them. I just think that they are a place to get very important, sifted information. And one of the things we try to do on the show is bring you enough of this stuff so then you can go off and do your own research. MAGA is winning. Trump is winning. He is smarter than them. I say this all the time. He is smarter than the Democrats. He's smarter than the left. Okay? LA is proving that. We did very little today on LA other than that Karen Bass piece. The LA race is going to show us how corrupt are they going to get in LA. There's no doubt there's going to be corruption. I have an uncle, and he used to be a collector for bookmakers. And he used to say to his people, there's pay, you got to pay what you owe. There's slow pay. You can play over time. We'll come up with a plan. But there's no pay. Okay? It's the same thing in LA. There's corruption. There's a lot of corruption, but there's no corruption, unfortunately. That's what J.D. Vance was getting at there. That's what Barbara's trying to point out. We're trying to root it out. We're going to find out in LA. All right. Now, I want to move on. We've talked a little bit over the course of the last bunch of weeks about AI. I try to more and more incorporate it into everything I do. I'm still an absolute novice. I am going to start. I've been preparing and sort of doing the build-up work to try to use it to really build things. So, because I think it's important, you're going to hear this. This is Jensen Huang. Okay, AI is scary. Are we going to go into the Terminator where the Borgs take over? I don't think so. But, and another guy that points this out a lot is the great Dan Bongino. We can't not be in the lead because North Korea, China, Russia, we're making friends with them as best we can, but we don't have a delusion that they're our pal. They're not. We aren't, snuggling up and having a sleepover with Xi and Putin and Trump. He's making friends with them because he has to, but he's also laying down the boundaries, as I said. We need to control AI, and it can be scary. I have always thought that the American economy is diversified enough and we have enough freedom, and I'm going to get into how freedom and liberty pertain to this, that when we come up with new productivity tools, things get better, not worse. I'll give as two short examples. Uber, Lyft, and Airbnb, VRBO, those two ideas. The cab business in New York, say, I think, if I remember correctly, the medallion that sold in New York City right sort of before Uber and Lyft took over was over $1 million. So Uber and Lyft essentially, I think, made those medallions worth close to nothing. Changed everything. But you didn't have like a collapse of the economy, or the cab drivers changed, but what did they do? Some of them became Uber drivers. Some of them do both. But the economy became more productive. How? Well, people were using cars that they might use in their regular life to do a side hustle with the car and do an Uber. So that car is now way more productive, which means that American has an easier time affording it. That helps the car industry. That helps the manufacturers, all the suppliers. Same thing with the VRBO. Like, you have a room you want to lease out or let out to somebody. Now you could do it. That can make your home more productive. It can help you afford your home in some cases. Or if you have a vacation home that you couldn't buy unless you could Airbnb it or VRBO it, now you could. You can see the cascading effects in the economy. AI, I suspect, is going to be the same thing. I'm going to play this, and then I want to talk about why. I just skipped the beginning of the question. You'll see. You'll catch up.
Okay, well,
What AI will do is to make tasks that we do in our job more efficient. Our job is not to wrangle a spreadsheet. Our job is not to type into a keyboard. Our job is generally more meaningful than that. I'm fairly confident that AI will drive productivity, revenue growth, and therefore more hiring. There's a belief that the world's GDP is somehow limited at $100 trillion. Well, what's likely to happen is AI is going to cause that $100 trillion to become $200 trillion, $300 trillion, $500 trillion. There's no fundamental limit to the size of a GDP. And so, the number of people in the world that is participating in this GDP, and the $100 trillion GDP is actually quite small. And so what if we brought the rest of the world, the rest of society, the rest of the world's population, empower them with AI, give them the opportunity to participate in the GDP, and cause this GDP to quintuple? I think that's a very likely outcome. And it's very likely that companies will become more prosperous. But it's for certain. This is for certain. Everybody's jobs will change as a result of AI.
Okay, I'm going to stop it there. But two important things he said. Productivity. He's talking about the world. I have my own disagreements with him on some political issues, but he's talking about we can bring AI to people who are not currently really being very productive in the world, which would be awesome. I'm going to bring it back to America. The sort of the key ingredient that makes America so different from the rest of the world is our roots in liberty and freedom. Why? Well, beyond all the stuff we talk about a lot with the founding fathers and all men being created equal, etc., is when people are free, when they have individual liberty, they can unleash their creativity. Some people that manifests in writing a great book or making a great movie or doing a great play or doing a great painting. Others, like Jensen Huang, it's building a great company. It took him something like 20 years to get that company to where it is now. When you have leftism, globalism, City of London, the empirical system, they are trying to control everything. They're trying to create conflicts. Conflicts are the antithesis of creativity. When your central nervous system is racked with war around you and whatnot, you aren't going to be creating things in the same way you are in a peaceful society. In America, the American system, it unleashes the creativity, which is innovation. And it gives people individual freedom and liberty to choose what they want to do. Doesn't mean we're all going to write a play or all going to paint a picture. That's not what it means. What it means is that I'm going to be able to choose, oh, you know what? I worked as a carpenter. I didn't like it very much and I wasn't very good, which is true, by the way, of me. I wasn't good at it. I was great at demolition. Okay, great at demolition. I could break things, but I couldn't really build things. So I knew early on, okay, that's not your thing. And then you have the freedom to go figure out what your thing is. Sometimes it results in making something and doing something like an iPhone. But sometimes it just results in me being able to find something that's aligned with what I can do well. And then that's productive. So what Jensen Huang is talking about is that AI is going to create more opportunities, not less. But he says in the end, it is going to affect everybody. So your job's going to change. But go back to what he said at the beginning. We do a lot of things in our job or in our day that occupy our time. All right. I read something the other day that I thought was really brilliant. It was a woman saying she spends a lot of time doing laundry. And that's familiar to me. In our house, we only have one daughter and I cannot believe how much laundry. So I don't know how much time we spend doing laundry, folding, etc. Now we have a washing machine, okay? But that costs money to buy. And then sometimes it's not working. And sometimes it doesn't, something gets shrunk or, somebody doesn't like the way that it made their clothes smell. And then there's the folding. And this woman was really talking about the folding, how much folding, and that she longs for a robot who can just fold all the time. I grew up in a house, I'm one of 6. My mom and dad were the first people that I knew that had 2 washers and 2 dryers, and they could barely keep up with the laundry, with the sheets and with the towels and with the clothes. It seemed like she was always doing laundry. What Jensen Huang is talking about is there are those things in the day where AI is going to be able to make those tasks either go away or become easier, which frees up our time to go be more productive doing other things. Sometimes it's going to free up our time to be better parents, to build stronger relationships, to build a better community. Other times it's going to be to build a business or work a little bit more or work different. But he is saying it's going to change everything. You don't hear from him the big scary thing. Now, he wouldn't say the big scary stuff because he's making his billions by selling the chips to power AI. The message to all of us, ordinary Americans, in front of a great flag, we love our God, our families, and our country, is that we have to figure out how AI works in our life. If you haven't heard of him, there's a guy, Jordi Visser. You can go look him up. I'll put a link to him in my X. He talks a lot. I think he's a little younger than I am. He talks a lot about AI and how to use AI, and everybody's going to learn it. We all have to learn how to use it. We all have to learn how it can help us think through things. It is a great search engine, and that's fine, but I'm trying to make the transition myself to using it to make stuff because I never learned how to code. So Jensen Huang is saying that. That's his way of saying everybody's got to figure it out. So I wanted to bring that up, and I want to talk about and see how that's going to change things. And by the way, tie it back into the beginning topic. You're seeing the AI videos that are propelling Spencer Pratt to a win. That's individuals, ordinary people like me and you, who have figured out how to use AI to make these videos that mock the nonsense and idiocy of the left and the Democrats and promote the simple, plain talk. I'm going to get rid of homeless. We're not going to let any non-citizens vote. No, there shouldn't be drugs in the playground. No, we shouldn't have a reservoir that's for fire protection empty during fire season. Common sense things. But he can put that in an AI video that he makes or that somebody else makes. And that is literally, I hate to use that word, changing politics right now in LA. That's AI. All right, went over today. Appreciate you being here. Send this around. Send it to your mom or your dad or your kids. If they're lefties or they lean left or they're kind of leaning left, send it to them. Hopefully, we'll start to wake them up, or they'll get pissed, but it will develop a conversation, I suspect. Please like, subscribe, follow. That really helps with the algorithm. We're at 10 o'clock today. We're searching around for the right time. And I had a family situation I wanted to be able to participate in this afternoon. So I moved it around. Because I don't have sponsors at the moment, I've got the freedom to do that. So I took advantage of it. But please, if you have an opinion on time that the show would be better suited for, let me know. We usually do 2 p.m. Monday through Friday, and we do usually something on the weekends too. All right. As I always like to say, the great Father Mike Schmitz says, I'm praying for you. Please pray for me. I like to say also, I'm rooting for you. I'm rooting for all of you. I'm rooting for you Democrats too. I just don't want you in control of anything. I'm rooting for you in your personal lives. I hope you have good lives. I still can't have you in charge of anything because, as Dennis Prager says, you ruin everything that you touch. All right. We'll see you back here tomorrow at 2 p.m.